I found out I had a sister, only at 21. Every year on my birthday, my mother would lock herself in the bathroom and cry. I used to think it was just maternal sentimentality. I thought that was what real love looked like. Now I know. She was mourning the daughter she gave away. I was 21 when I realized my life wasn't entirely mine. I grew up in a house that looked decent from the outside. A simple 2-story home on a quiet street, a father with perpetually tense shoulders, a mother with faded eyes, and me, the only child who always felt that something was off, though I couldn't explain what. I often felt like I was born alone, not just physically, but fundamentally. I had no brothers, no sisters. No one who knew my fears, my dreams, who could laugh with me under the covers in the dark while our parents argued in the kitchen. Just me. Me. In my room, in my world, in my head. Since early childhood, I remember feeling envy. Real envy. Sharp in the stomach, like I'd been robbed of something. My friends had sisters, and they'd complain about them, taking their clothes, touching their stuff, snooping in their diaries. And I would just nod along, pretending to understand. But I didn't. I would have given anything for someone to just walk into my room without knocking. Anyone at all. Sometimes when I played with dolls, I would pair them up. Mother and daughter, sister and sister. I was never part of those scenes. Because in my real life, the pair was always incomplete. I remember the summers we spent visiting my great-aunt. She had twin daughters. They would argue, fight, make up, and do everything together. And I remember watching them, not as girls, but as a myth, a legend of what love between children could be. Real, endless, not earned by competing for adult attention. And every time we left and went back home, the silence became unbearable, as if I was returning to a room that had been emptied of air. I tried to fill that void. Friends, magazines, long to-do lists to keep my mind busy. But there was one feeling I couldn't shake. Emptiness. Not boredom. Not anxiety. Just emptiness. As if someone was supposed to be there from the beginning, and they weren't. Or maybe they never were. But the space for them remained. When I turned 10, I asked my mom for a little sister for the first time. I remember saying it without looking up, just tossing the words into the air at dinner like it didn't mean anything. She didn't reply, just smiled faintly at the corners of her mouth. Then she got up and went to the bathroom, closing the door behind her. After that, I never asked again. But the longing didn't disappear. It just grew quieter. It turned into that same shadow that followed me through life. When I watched movies about sisters, I'd get a lump in my throat. When a friend told me how her brother met her at the train station, I'd say, "That's cool," and then swallow tears on the bus ride home. I got used to being alone, but that loneliness never became normal. It simply became a part of me, as if someone was supposed to be by my side from the very beginning, but wasn't. And I lived with that empty space my entire life, not even realizing that it wasn't imaginary, that it was real. That feeling of loneliness didn't go away, at home or outside. It only grew stronger around my father. He was always distant. He didn't hit, didn't yell, didn't drink, but he also didn't hug, didn't listen, didn't care. He was like a cool breeze through a draft. You could feel him, but he never stayed. His love, if it existed, felt like something I wasn't allowed to access. He praised my grades, but never came to my recitals. He forgot my friends' names and left the room whenever I started to cry. Mom was different. She tried. She made pancakes in the morning, stroked my hair, covered me with a blanket if I fell asleep on the couch. But there was a quiet sorrow inside her, one I didn't have words for back then. It lived in her movements, in the way she stared too long out the window, in the heavy breath she let out after looking at childhood photos of me, especially in early March. Every year on March 4th, my birthday, Mom would wake up early, cook something special, then put on a bright sweater, smiling far too widely. And about an hour later, she'd disappear into the bathroom. She'd return with red eyes. I always thought it was just emotion. that she was remembering the day I was born. I thought that's how maternal love looked. Deep, raw, beautiful. I was even proud of it. I had no idea she was remembering a different day, a different child. The truth came out by accident. I was getting ready to move to Montreal. I'd been accepted into university. Mom and I were going through old documents, insurance papers, childhood drawings, random files. In one box, there was an old, slightly yellowed envelope, unlabeled. Something about it felt foreign. The thick paper, the neat crease, as if someone had preserved it with care. I opened a photograph, a little girl, maybe 5. At first, I didn't understand what I was holding. I just stared. The paper was soft with age. My fingers trembled. She had my eyes. It was like a jolt of electricity. I didn't immediately grasp what was happening. I just kept staring, trying to understand why she looked so familiar. Then, behind the photo, I found a letter. Neat, unfamiliar handwriting, and lines that tightened my chest. Her name, Emma. She liked to draw cats. She had heart problems. And she knew her mom's name was Sarah, that her mom loved her, that it just happened this way, that she wasn't abandoned but given away, with love. I don't even remember ending up on the floor. The letter trembled in my hands, but not because it was cold. Everything inside me had shifted. Everything I knew about myself cracked open. Emma. I have a sister. And no one ever told me, in those first few seconds, I didn't feel anger or betrayal. I felt relief. Warm, enveloping relief. As if someone had removed a heavy stone I'd been carrying my whole life without knowing it. I sat there, letter in hand, photo in my lap. Not lost, but somehow, finally, found. The feeling was so unexpected I didn't immediately understand what it meant. But then it became clear. For the first time in my life, I realized I wasn't alone. That somewhere, in this world, there was someone who shared my features, who had similar memories, who carried the same note in her voice. That I wasn't hollow inside, not alone on this planet. That I had real, living blood, just like hers. That I wasn't the only one who felt the emptiness. Because maybe she felt it too. I didn't know where she was, who she had become, how she lived. But I knew one thing. She existed. I let myself smile. Truly. It was a brief, surprised smile, like the sun breaking through the clouds for just a second. I didn't even notice it at first. Just felt something flutter in my chest. Light, like a wing. The smile wasn't from joy. It was from recognition. From knowing I wasn't alone anymore. Even if I still didn't understand anything else. And only then, like a wave, the thoughts came. Thick, sticky, anxious. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why did I spend my entire childhood feeling incomplete and no one explained why? Why did Mom keep this secret? And Dad, he must have known. He had to. So he stayed silent. So he agreed. So all these years, this entire family was built on something I was never allowed to touch. That moment of joy quickly turned to bitterness, as if someone had given me a breath of fresh air, only to close my mouth again. A pressure started building inside me. The questions multiplied, tangled, swelled. They filled my chest like smoke. And that smoke stung my eyes. Then came the feeling that I was standing on the edge of something vast and cold. My mom, always so caring, had carried this secret her whole life. She looked at me and saw a reminder of the one she'd given away. And I was her second chance. Her redemption. Her silent grief. And I didn't even know. In those days, I couldn't stay at home. I wandered the streets, took random buses, sat in cafes just to breathe other people's air. Mom and I didn't speak about it. She didn't seem to expect I ever would. But I knew one thing. I had to find her. It became an obsession. I registered on adoption forums, posted in online groups, read story after story of family secrets and lost daughters. I spent sleepless nights on Reddit, scrolling through posts in sections like family betrayal, emotional neglect by parents, daughter versus golden child. In every comment, I searched for a clue, a familiar detail. I even tried to find her through art. Mom had said she used to draw cats. A year passed, then another. At some point, I nearly gave up. I was tired of the silence, tired of waiting. Sometimes I just sat in the quiet and thought, what if I made it all up? What if she doesn't want to be found? And then a message came. Short, reserved, but with that familiar thread of pain woven between the lines. A girl wrote that her friend was adopted. Her name was Emma. She was born around the same time in the same state. She had heart issues as a child. She was an artist. She lived in Vancouver. My breath caught. I opened her profile, and I saw myself. Just in another age, another life, another path. But still, myself. She was beautiful in that quiet, confident way that doesn't ask for validation. There was something in her face achingly familiar, like I wasn't seeing it for the first time, but remembering it. She looked free. And for some reason, that was the most moving thing of all. The meeting felt like real air filling my lungs for the first time. I saw her, and everything inside me clenched, as if my soul finally recognized the one it had been walking toward all along. We walked up to each other, and in the very same moment, we hugged. Not quickly, not awkwardly, but like we were coming home. Her shoulders trembled, and only then did I realize I was crying too. But they weren't the kind of tears that make your chest ache. They were tears of recognition. Tears of someone who had searched all their life and finally found. She smelled like home. Coffee, a bit of paint, something sweet. I breathed her in like I was afraid the scent would vanish. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. Full. We stood there for so long that everything else disappeared. No airport, no time, no onlookers. Just her. And me. Two halves that had been waiting all this time. I think we've missed each other since childhood. We just didn't know who it was we were missing. We only felt it as a strange kind of longing. An empty place at the table that friends or hobbies could never quite fill. That urge to say something important, but to no one. And now, being together, even the silence between us feels warm. We don't try to be anything. We just exist in the same rhythm. And that's enough. We found common ground quickly, as if we'd been speaking the same language our entire lives. We joked the same way, liked the same kind of coffee, and experienced the world differently, but with the same intensity. She showed me her old sketches. I told her school stories that had never made sense. Until now, because someone finally wanted to hear them. The world felt different. As if it finally had a sound and a scent it had been missing. As if it had become alive. Meaningful. Now we talk all the time. Almost every day. Voice messages, photos. Sometimes just quiet breathing through earbuds. We visit each other every 2 or 3 months. Sometimes I fly to her. Sometimes she comes to me. We walk, we sit in silence, we laugh. We lie on the floor and breathe the same air. And I don't want to explain anything anymore. We don't care what our parents think. We blame no one, and we excuse no one. We simply don't let anyone come between us. We're not family by rules, approval, or paperwork. We're family by essence. It's not a fairy tale. We argue, we go quiet. We leave things unsaid. But there's truth in it. And that truth heals. Now my life is full. Not perfect, not without scars, but real. Cherish those you are able to love. Sometimes the person closest to you isn't the one who's always been there, but the one you finally found. And when you find them, hold on with all your heart. With all of you.